My mother was a combination of Madame Curie and Auntie May. She took the 6 of us to the Goodman, Lyric Opera, the Symphony, and all those places like other kids' parents dragged them to Riverview. When my mom got dressed up to go out, she wore these silk ribbon knit suits and pearls. I swear she looked like Jackie Kennedy. But one thing no one outside of our house knew about my mom was her growl. You see, there were 6 of us in 7 years, no multiples. And for long stretches, there were 5 teenagers at a time. So my mom, when she got mad at us, would get this mean cheetah face and grit her teeth and scream real loud, and we would do whatever she said. Kept us in line for sure. I don't mean to paint a picture of her as a tyrant because she wasn't. She did the growling when she felt she had to. Other times, she would tell us how great we were and that we could do anything we dreamed of. To whom much is given, much is expected, my mother said so often it was like a prayer. But my mom did growl at me once, big time. Well, just once that I'm going to tell you about, because my sons are here.
Whoa.
I was 5, and I tried to, I did, make cigarettes and light them. I got this great idea from my parents' cocktail parties. 3 or 4 times a year, my parents would have cocktail parties. It was the only time alcohol played a major role in our house. They would have 8 couples over. This is what they called the group. These couples had been friends since college, some of them grade school. Back then, everybody's parents smoked and drank, and I mean really drank, none of this silly wine and beer business. My dad would make cocktails at these parties like martinis and Manhattans and highballs and grasshoppers and Tom Collins. Like, who is Tom Collins anyway? My mother served shrimp cocktail. Even the food was about the cocktails. I used to think the sound of clinking ice is what made them laugh so loud and stay up till the next day. It made their friend Eddie play the trumpet. Scrunched down in my pajamas, looking over the railing, I would watch the sexy moms in the stiff sequin dresses. They all smoked. They held these ivory cylinders in their graceful hands, ringed in magenta lipstick. Oh, I wanted to be like them. I was 5, but I wanted to be grown up and dangerous and feminine and Hollywood. So one day I got this great idea to make cigarettes. My mom was in the basement doing laundry, one of the 5,000 loads of laundry she did a week. I used to think, oh, when your clothes are dirty, you just throw them in the hamper, and in 2 days' time, they'll appear folded and clean under bed. So I talked my brother Paul, who's a year older than me, into making cigarettes. We cut 5 by 5-inch sheets of construction paper and rolled them real tight. We didn't fill them with anything because we had never held cigarettes in our hands and we didn't know they were filled with anything. We found matches in a drawer, held the colored paper to our faces, and lit them. They went up really fast in flames. We knew enough to let go and throw them into the kitchen garbage, where in seconds it starts to go in flames, and I am frozen. If the house burns down, where is my imaginary friend Betty Sally gonna go? Oh, and my zebra pinafore and my black patent leather Mary Janes. Honestly, I didn't think once about my parents or my brothers and sisters. I didn't really even think we'd be homeless because it was 1963 and homelessness wasn't invented yet. Luckily, my brother Paul was a little more practical than me and had gone to the kitchen sink and filled a glass with water and threw it in the garbage. He did this 6 or 7 more times. Now it's this charred, floating mess. And God, are we smart? It's almost out. Let's let's just go in the backyard and play. So we go outside to kick a ball or go on the swings or bother old lady Lucy who lives next door. That's not hard to do. She walks around in her slip with her windows open. I swear her breasts are past her waist. Within minutes, my mother smelled the smoke and comes upstairs, opens the back door and says, "Get in here now! You could have burned your hands off!" How would I wear gloves? Years later, when my oldest son was born, my mother came down to help me. It was 1988, and I lived in Dallas. I was married to a man who was much less than helpful, so when my mother came to the hospital after Weldon was born, I thought, oh, I'm going to be okay. We're going to be okay. She's going to help me. We drove home from the hospital to our brick duplex on Orem Street. It was October, and the summer heat had wound down. She helped me give Weldon a bath in the kitchen sink. His hands and feet were the size of a squirrel's. When he cried, which was all the time, she walked him and cooed to him and held him, sang to him, taught me how to wrap him real tight in a blanket so he would feel safe. After a week, my mother had to go back to work. She was by then chief financial officer of my father's company. She'd gotten her MBA at 60 when we all left the house. I told you she was cool. As she's packing for the airport, I say, can we go over the bath one more time? What I wanted to say was, can we go over early childhood, adolescence, college, just parenthood in general? I didn't feel I knew how to be a mother. Sometimes I feel I still don't. I never quite perfected my mother's growl. I didn't do it loud enough, I guess. It never really worked. My mother died in 2002, but not before she growled a lot at my boys for breaking things or looking like they were about to. I didn't really need the growl so much because my boys never did anything really too terrible at all, like some of their friends did. And I mean terrible things, like get thrown out of high school and steal cars or threaten a teacher or bring a gun to college, or like one of their friends did 2 weeks ago, have 3 pounds of pot FedEx to the house. Let me tell you what happens when you get 3 pounds of pot FedEx to the house. The FBI come with it. So my boys did none of that stuff at all. They were really pretty good. There was this one time, though, where 2 of them, Colin and Brendan, when they were 16 and 13, did something really dumb. I mean, Dumb and Dumber wouldn't even have done this dumb thing. I was 1,500 miles away at a funeral of a friend's mom, and what good would a growl have done for me, for them anyway? I get a call as soon as I land from the Oak Park Police, and the officer says, has your 2005 Nissan Altima been stolen? No. Is Brendan your son as he says he is? Yes. Can you come to the scene to have them released in your custody? No, but my brother Paul can be there. The policeman then tells me the story. It appears the boys, there were 8 of them in the 2005 Altima that seats 5. They were coming back from a wrestling practice in the afternoon, and they were speeding. The Nissan Altima, I have to tell you, the boys call the White Knight. They all learn to drive in it. There's a dent in every panel. It has craters. So the police start following the car, and the White Knight speeds up. Now there's 2 police cars following the White Knight. It speeds up more. And now, like something out of Fast and Furious or Hawaii 5-0, 2 other police cars move in front of the White Knight to get it to stop. So the White Knight stops, all 4 doors fly open, and 8 boys go flying in different directions, including the driver. The police catch them. Luckily, it's the Oak Park Police, not Chicago, so they don't shoot. They catch them because they're not that hard to catch. They shove their faces in the ground, handcuff them, search the car, and all they find are dirty, smelly workout clothes. That's when the policeman called me. "Ma'am, can you please tell your sons not to abandon the vehicle when they're pulled over for routine checks?" "Yes, officer, I will." "Officer, can you please scare them so they don't do that again?" "Oh, no worries, ma'am." We did that. I call Brendan and Colin on their cells and I say, "You wait until I get home." In the house where we have lived for 18 years, in the breakfast room, I painted in green calligraphy on one wall this Chinese proverb: "Govern a family as you would cook a small fish, very gently." It serves to remind me that sometimes what your children need is not the growl. What makes them who they are the 10 million things you do as a parent that have no sound